Hello and welcome, you're joining us for stage 4 and 5 of the Dirt Racing Series, the final two stages of the second season. This is the B plus Stelvio division in the evenings. Just take a quick look at what's happened so far in the B plus division. It's been very competitive with this really strong field. Lots of variation week on week. So currently we have Watt Fabric in first. They came first in in stages 1 and 2 shall we say, but got pipped out last week down into third by the Box and Valhalla. So we've got Valhalla then in second place, some great results across the board. It's going to be very tight between the two of them and all to play for going into the final two stages. We have Dirty Box in third. We've had a good performance. We're a bit further down on the second stage than they'd have liked, but have been bringing it back ever since. Cobra Kai, one of the Dirt teams, are in fourth, very narrowly behind Box, and it's very tight between the rest of the teams are in this area. We've got BZR in fifth. Belgian Zwift riders, ESRTs from the Swedish riders generally in 6th, Dirty Goosters, last season's winners, who are in 7th, Rhinos in 8th, Dirty Eagle Fang 9th, Danish Zwift riders in 10th, Hispy 11th, OTR Skid Marks in 12th, and a solo rider from Jet in 13th. As I say, it's very tight all the way down the standings. Just trying to take a quick look at the individual standings as they do count towards, well, obviously they count towards the total, but individuals are targeting them and do have a look at them. We have a separate sprint standing as well as the climbing stands and then an overall individual rider. And currently it's Rainer Beckers from Watt Fabric who's leading the way, closely followed by Arne Danielsson from Valhalla, who I would suspect I'd probably have as one of my favourites going into the last two stages. Then Marshall from Cobra Kai, really strong performance. He'll also do very well, especially in the ITT I suspect. Vegard Huygen from Valhalla in 4th. Schmekilski in 5th for Watt Fabric. Simon Mattress from Watt Fabrics on joint 6th with Keldgaard from DZR. Then Christopher Herzl, last season's individual winner, down in 8th. Wim van Kutsum from Belgian Zwift Riders, who are a second place team last season, down in 9th. Magnus Vikland rounding out the top 10. You see we've got another DZR rider down in 11th and in 13th, which shows, some really strong performance from 3 of their riders there. But as a team, they find themselves down in 10th. I'm not sure if they competed in the time trial last week, but it shows how competitive the league is, with the top 4 riders scoring for each team. It's all about the team points. It's not just about the individuals. You're going to have 1 or 2 really strong individuals. You saw last season with Chris Herzl from Watt Fabric. But as a team, they didn't necessarily do as well. This season, he's brought along some friends, it seems. And they're doing really well as a team. Take a quick look at the first course we're going to have today. So starting off with the Richmond UCI Worlds course, the points race. In order of segments, we have the Monument Sprint, which will be FTS. Then we have the Broad Street Sprint, which is going to be first across the line. Then we go into the hills with the Libby Hill KOM, which will be fastest through the segment. And then 23rd Street, quite a short segment, first across the line. Personally, I think there'll be some breakaways up Libby Hill that will carry all the way to the finish. You saw it earlier, and I think that's where the race will really split up. But there is the opportunity for people to go long into that Broad Street Sprint, especially with it being first across the line points available. So we'll just jump on to the race. We've got 1:30 left till we start off. We're very interested to see how teams treat this, because we do have the 2 stages fairly back to back. It's 45 minutes between the start of each stage. So there should be about 10-15 minutes rest for a lot of these riders. But it'll be very kind of tight. There isn't a ton of recovery. It'll be interesting to see how kind of teams treat this. Whether they just have 4 riders concentrating on each, as they'll have 8 signed up, and it's the top 4 that score. So it'll be interesting to see how they're doing. You might be able to see Goose there. He attacked very well this morning, was riding in the B- division. So this is going to be a bit of a turn for him riding in the upper B division this evening. But he had a good performance earlier on the TTT, maybe going out a little bit too hard earlier. But we'll find that later when we got into the ITT. First up, we do have this very punchy Richmond course. We start off hopefully semi-gently. Imagine some riders might push the pace. Saw it earlier that people might want to push it just to kind of tire other riders out. But it'll be interesting to see how they treat that. And then when we come around that first hairpin into the sprint, it'll just start really lighting up. suspect when we come through the sprint segments, nothing too much will happen in terms of a breakaway, but we might lose some riders off the back because of the pace through the segment. We're going to see a lot of people lighting up, maybe going for the individual point standings. Now Snowy's had his eye on it, having won it last season. I'll see if he can get some more points for the box with it this season. So you see people leading out quite hard, a lot of riders having to do almost 6 watts per kilo in the pack to keep towards the front. There's not much point in a pack like this pushing too hard off the front. You just want to get out, make sure you're in an okay position. But some riders, as we see, Alto from ESRT and Greg Pearce from Valhalla just pushing quite hard at the front. They like to get away early, test the water a bit, do some damage to other teams. But yeah, and I think it's generally one of those cases where you just want to get away and be comfortable, just relax, not do too much work. Seeing some of the HISP riders pushing towards the front. It's been great having them with us this season. And they did quite well on the TTT last week. They are down 11th, but they're joint on points with DZR and only 4 points behind Dirty Eagle Fan. So it'll be very competitive, and then they've got OTR behind them. So just a reminder at the front, it's going to be a very tight competition in these two kind of last 2 rounds between Watt Fabric, who you might be able to see on the right of your screen. We'll just zoom in on one of their riders, or we'll try to look at Marcus Witzel. Let's see how we can get. So this is the Watt Fabric kit. Got this black upper going down to a faded red lower with the Watt Fabric logo in the middle. Then looking at Valhalla, they've got a blue kit. Might be able to see it on the right hand side of the screen now, not the Rhino kit. There's a couple of them around, marked as TV on the side. Look at Mo Ansari. So this is the Valhalla kit you're looking out for as well. And the third place team, the Boxer, in the 25, the green kit with 25 on the back. So they're your top 3 teams at the moment. Cobra Kai might be worth watching out for. We're only 1 point behind the Box and 1 point ahead of both BZR and ESRT. On the dirt teams, there's a variety of kits. See if we can find one of the Eagle Fang riders. So just come through this gentle section. It is 0% through this bit, but it will turn up a little bit as you take a right turn after this corner. So the Cobra Kai riders aren't making it easy to be found here. It is such a tight pack. Everything is changing around a bit, but as we go towards the back, you'll see, and a lot of the experienced riders will just have sat in comfortably towards the back and just be conserving as much as possible. See the likes of Snowy doing 2.7 there. Andres Jalsig, very experienced SRT rider, 1.6. Loads of the SRT riders were towards the back there. You see the Eagle Fang riders there in the Dirt Community kit. And then Cobra Kai in the Lava kit, which is black with the word lava on the top and a white banner. You see Arnie Danielson from Valhalla leading the way up the road at the front. Not sure what his intentions are here, whether he's just trying to push the pace, keep people working a little bit. Valhalla used to attack quite a lot on segments. I think he's just chilling, maybe he moved to the front accidentally with a faux attack. Valhalla always used to excite things, especially in the last few seasons and in other series. It's always good to see. So one of the Goosters just moving through the front, Clem. Again, it is -1%, but this is part of a kind of long 1-2% incline. Nothing too much is going to happen here, especially in such an experienced field. But as you can see, the group's just spreading out a little bit, as always. There's people trying to get quite a bit of rest and get into a good position for the sprint. See Berkman's from BZR and Niels from Watt Fabric right towards the back there. Just chilling out. I'm not sure who. Yeah, I suspected it was Snowy with them too. Just really relaxing, trying to get a good position. Because it's FTS for the segment, you want as many rides in front of you to go through. It doesn't matter at all how close to the front you are. Across the line, it's all about that time. And so the most important thing is to have as many people to draft through as possible. Thankfully, with the Zwift physics, we don't really have to consider dodging around riders or other riders getting in your way. So it is better just start right at the back if at all possible. But make sure you're up and going before the line. One thing that does catch people out occasionally on this sprint is how early to go from. So it does depend on what's going on around you. We saw Sam Crofts in the A+ division earlier, going just a little bit too early, still putting in a great time. So you want the Watt Fabric riders pushing towards the front. I'm not sure what they're really trying to achieve here. Whether this is a really early attack. I did mention it earlier. If you want to catch people out, this is the place to go. But it's Niels, who you expect will be trying to pick up some points in this sprint. So I'm not really sure what's happening here. I think he's just sat up, whatever went on, whether that was a false attack. So one thing you can do is just make these false attacks, try and get people out of position. You see Craig Hanna from Rhino just trying to jump on their wheel. Moanzai from Valhalla as well, just leading the pack out. But sometimes you can put in these little false attacks, see if your rivals react and get into a bad position. See Teresa trying to close down as well for Rhino. But I'm not sure if this Craig Hanna doesn't know that it's FTS segment rather than first across the line. But yeah, as I was mentioning earlier, you could go for an early attack here and try and get totally away from the group. It might catch people out by surprise. Although I'd say the best time to do it is just straight after the FTS sprint. Because as you come into the FTS sprint, you're going to need a good 10 seconds over the group to really stay away, even if you're sprinting yourself, just because of the effect of the draft. So we'll just get out towards the back here, see what's going on. The riders who are going to be targeting this are going to be sat right towards the back. See Goose chilling there, Snowy and Ali. See Rain really far back here. And so you expect riders to start to ramp up just around this corner. See Goose starting to go. They don't need to go fully in here. Goose might have gone a little bit too early, might start to burn out just before the segment. See Hawk from Cobra, I'm not quite sure who that is, but putting out some serious numbers there. Really impressive. And he's going to be flying through, taking FTS there. See Eben doing really well for the box, followed by Suarez from Hisp, Goose, and Daniel Manelo doing really well then. So, not sure what went on with that Hawk rider. So it looks like they took second place from Manelo, which is very impressive from Manelo. He must have kicked really hard early on, just been dying a little bit towards the end. With Snowy, as we expected, taking third for the box. Magnus Vikland, very strong experienced rider from the SRT in fourth. And I assume that will be Clem from the Goosters. Not too sure. Taking fifth, Stewarty in sixth. And then Herzl from Watt Fabric in seventh. So not too many points for Watt Fabric there. Strong showing from OTR and lots of the dirt teams. But didn't see any Valhalla riders particularly in there either. So possibly a telling sign when they're going to save themselves for the later segment. Personally, if I was a team going into this, I'd probably have one rider try and target that segment, see if you can get, top few positions. So we'll just get the segment points on screen for you. But in general, because it's going to be so decisive up Libby Hill, unless you know your riders can recover between the two, I'd probably save myself for that. Make sure you get in the breakaway and make sure you're scoring really good finishing points. So just get the points on the screen for you here. So it's only showing the first two sprint segments, but as you can see, there's a lot more points available for fastest through the segment than first across the line, but they do both go back quite deep, with high points all the way down to 10th, especially first across the line versus, say, first across the line first and second place. And that podium, and we're almost top 5, top 6, is really important in fastest through. It's really important that people do get riders in there, and it will help out teams. But if you can pack out that top 4-5 on the finish line, so take a quick look at the finish points for you as well. You'll see the points are so much greater. Getting FTS but coming 10th rather than first or say second is going to cost you. And so it's really important that riders they manage their effort through here. They want to be going hard for these segments, but not enough to drop them off the back. You see quite a few riders gone here. Seems we've got lost one of the Hisp riders, Pierre Rosa, AX from Cobra Kai, and 2 of the OTR riders. So while Manelo for OTR got some strong points, they've also lost 2 teammates, which is going to hurt them. We see Niels, not sure what was going on there. He did push off the front. I wonder if he's having some trainer trouble or something else is going on. But he's just dropped off the back for Watt Fabric. I'm not sure how many riders Watt Fabric have entered in this stage, because if they only have 4 turning up, that's really going to hurt them, having lost such a strong rider so early. But I suspect now and then they'll have had a couple more just as a safety net, which means Niels can just sit up, relax, and just wait for the next race, essentially, for the next stage. Taking a look at the field, I can see at least 4 Watt Fabric riders, so they're absolutely comfortable. That shouldn't be affecting them too much. See a couple of the riders just pushing off the front. I believe that's Rhino again, agitating things. Which is good to see. Yep, so we've got 2 of the Rhino. Craig, Hanno and Arwalone, as you might expect to see on the heavier riders. Puts out some phenomenal numbers for someone his age. Just agitating things at the front as we come into the sprint segment. So This sprint segment is just around the corner. However, people kind of get creeped out by this first section and go way too early as we start to see one of the riders. Not sure who that is from OTR, S East from OTR going way too early. Van Wyn from BZR jumping on their wheel. It's a very long way to go and people are going to lead out. See Clem and Alto reacting. So lots of riders are going to have to react to this here. See one that HISP riders haven't seen before. Questa Suarez doing very strongly here, putting out some crazy numbers. Must be a new introduction to their team. See Alto just dying a bit. A couple of the others really struggling now as the ASRT riders are powering through. Got one of the BZR riders in there, two of the Cobra Kai riders pushing all the way through to the line. But it's going to be very close on this line. Very tight. The ESRT riders think it's going to come through and take it from the dirt riders. There. So it's Anderson, Robin Anderson, the strongest sprinters taking first there, followed by 2, if not 3, of the riders from Cobra Kai. Really strong performance from them. And then a couple of one of the other ESRT riders, and then Greg Pierce from Valhalla picking up some points, along with one Snowy coming through a bit further down. Interesting, not too many Watt Fabric riders up here. Got Simon Matros, but they don't seem to have taken many points so far. I wonder if they're going for a really big effort on Libby, but you know, you don't want to leave it too late. You do want to start picking up the occasional point, especially with a team that's so strong across the board like Watt Fabric. Just see if we can get some information on some of those riders. I haven't seen that HISP rider before. It's good to see them bringing along some new recruits. I'm not sure who this Hawk might be. A simple change of name. Some people like to mess around a little bit with that. It's interesting to see. So as we come down this section again, it is a bit strung out still, but I'm not too worried about the back. I know, like, knowing this field, all the riders here are more than strong enough to keep with it. See Carson's Teal, normally a top sprinter, just getting a little bit way down towards the back then. He's having to cycle all the way down here. He's Klingval from the SRT, just punches across. Very clever from Klingval. Not sure if he's intentionally done that. Because he punched across that gap there, he's dropped TL. And if he can maintain this over, TL's going to struggle. A couple of Vim Van cuts him from BZR. It's just dropping back into the gap Jarlsig is. So if you're one of the Rhino's teammates here, you want to be dropping back as well to help out TL, but TL's lost it here. Sadly, just got dropped there at the back, and that's one of the things you have to be very careful of if you're hanging towards the back. So there is a little bit of a chase group. Colin Brown from the Goosters, strong rider, Dave from Eagle, Dirty Eagle Fang, a couple of the HISP guys. See Chris Herzl off the back as well. Very interesting to see a couple of these Watt Fabric guys already gone. And Arwell only put in a little dig earlier. So I think a lot of teams have kind of got riders signed up, just seeing how things go, seeing how long they can hold on for. Might just be thinking totally about stage 5 and the individual time trial, just trying to save those legs. See a little bit of a gap opening up here, but again, it's such an experienced group. Riders like Clem and Bessons from BZR are easily going to be closing this down and jumping back onto it. Yeah, so the next segment coming up is the Libby Hill Climb. So that's going to be an FTS segment. It's about just over a minute for these riders. Might see some... I'd be surprised, but we might see some riders just getting below a minute. Stewarty from Dirty Eagle Fangs pushing off the front. Not totally sure the benefit of this. So it is an FTS segment. What he could do is a very, very long attack, but I just don't think he's going to get the gap he needs on the group. Suspect the difference between a solo attempt up Libby Hill and one as a group is going to be about 10-15 seconds. And I can't see him getting a 10-15 second gap on this group, especially going into it with the draft available. So we've got FTS first on Libby Hill. That's where the deciding factor is going to be. And as we come over the top, it flattens out a bit. There's a bit of opportunity to get back on, but if you're wanting to get back on, you should really do the work up Libby itself. You might see some of the groups coming back together, but I suspect we'll have it quite strung out. And there's a little bit of a downhill, tiny flat section, then a real strong punch up 23rd Street. And it's that punch up 23rd Street that's make or break. You need to be full on sprinting the first section of it to get those first cross the line points and to make up any gaps on those ahead. And it's really about who can maintain that and speed the entire way up. You can enter at about 50-55 kilometers an hour. And so when you get to the top, some people will be maintaining, mid-30s. Whereas others will be down to 10 kilometers an hour. And it produces a huge difference in times and huge gaps on the field. On the road. Getting sports modelled up here. So Stewarty's got this 2-3 second gap. You see one of the riders from HISP jumping across, see Stewart, he's just given up there. It wasn't the best move, I'm afraid. Interesting to see, but very unlikely to come off, and probably a bit of a waste of effort. But he's made the right call. He's decided it's not going to happen, so he's just sitting up, recovering, trying to kind of get some rest before the climb itself. Best thing you can do here is not jump back on with this rider, because the group is going to swarm through when we hit the base of the climb. So far we've seen some good performances from Cobra Kai, a couple of points from Box. Valhalla have picked up the occasional point, and What Fabric look to have picked up very few. It's interesting to see if we can have a big turnaround at the top of the table here. I think What Fabric have the room, as long as they don't lose by too many places to Valhalla, to just chill out in this race and really target the ITT. But they can't afford to lose too many places to Vikings Valhalla, as they'll do some real damage, and they're all strong enough to do well in the ITT as well. So as you come around this right-hand bend, you should be able to see the side of the segment. Lots of riders will be chilling out here. See Paul here for the Goose has probably left it a little bit too late. See on the map how many are strung towards the back. Someone's clever here. They might want to punch off the front, and there we see Paul's doing exactly that. Punching off the front, making those rides that work. Just have to work a bit too hard. See Teresa from Rhino has been very strong throughout this series. He's pushing towards the front. And so you expect to see rides around 7 watts per kilo here throughout this entire section, especially the front guys. And then really kicking up around the corner. See Killian van der Biel and Bang Madsen from Dieseldar kicking up to 8 there. Manelo doing very well. Bang Madsen pushing up to 10 here. It might be a little bit early. Sometimes on a flat pace we see it's dropped down to 0% here. Unless he can hold above 8 watts per kilo the rest of the way, he's going to be in trouble come the end of this climb. So we turn this right-hander, people are going to start to kick now. And you should be almost all in. 20-second sprint here. We see Killian van der Biel really going for it there. Absolutely monstrous numbers. So you see Bang Madsen just can't quite hold what he was doing earlier. And the higher percentages here are really playing into Killian van der Biel's favour here. So he's starting to fall off a little bit, and that's going to open up the space to the likes of Paul coming from behind, Simon Matros from What Fabric, but I think Van der Biel's going to take it across the line here. Paul being second. It'll be interesting to see if anyone's come from deeper though. Matros taking third, Bang Madsen taking fourth. But it'll be interesting to see if anyone further down the pack has kind of usurped that a little bit. See 108, not a totally monstrous time, but still a fast time nonetheless. You see we've instantly changed, sadly, the FTS segments. We'll see if we can cut that after for you. We see we've got this group of 5 up the road. I suspect it might come back together. There's a big bunch behind. It's very stretched out. But this bunch behind will probably stay together. And we've got, it's just a consistent line of riders all the way down to about 30th on the road. This will definitely be a selection. See Snowy just struggling to hold on to the back of it here. But as long as you're in this group, you can have some hope that you're going to be together for that final long climb. But these front 5 riders are going to comfortably take the 23rd Street points if they've got anything left. See they're flying down here. Bang Madsen's just in a bit of a poor position here. Huygen from Valhalla's just hitting the front a little bit too early again. Matros looks like he's in the perfect position if he can get up and start sprinting now. Bang Madsen's kind of coming through again. It should be a full-on sprint here. The ride's leaving a bit too low. It needs to be up at 10, 11 to really take the points. See in here from Valhalla just coming through. That should be comfortably first fouls. You've got a lot of the riders coming from deep very hard. A lot of the What Fabric riders pushing through. You see Hoyard should take this comfortably enough. Look at Bang Madsen. Might just get pipped on the line. We've got Rainer Beckers getting some more individual points for himself and points for What Fabric. Coming through in second there. Bosco Uribe, good to see them back. Doing well for Valhalla. Goose, absolutely sensational performance after doubling up. And then Schultz from What Fabric, Ilski from What Fabric, Matches from What Fabric, really cramming out that top 10. So as we see, this is the kind of What Fabric that we know and have seen from many races already this series. See Robin Anderson have some big efforts earlier, managed to get into that top group. It'll be good to see him doing well. He's tended to put in some real big efforts, picking up some points but then falling off the group. So we're good to see him holding on to it today. So you have Vegard just up the road here. He's only got a second on the group. And if I was him, he just needs to chill out a bit here. Just get onto the group before they come flying through. Because he's going to have to kick now. He really needs to kick now. You can use the numbers on the bottom. Seeing how close they're getting to kind of manage your effort getting back on. You see it, that second group is split in half here. You've got all these little groups going back down the road. Some of those riders were able to really punch up 23rd Street, as I said, like snowy back. So a lot of the box riders a bit further back than they'd like. Graham Miller, one of the top ranked riders here. He's not going to be competitive at the finish though. You see Eben from the box, just a bit far off the front group. It's only 4 seconds, but it'll really add up. No, Trey's one of the stronger Rhino rides, lighter weight, so she might have a lot in her favour to close this gap. But it'll be a big ask for them to come back and then punch through the group there. See Andre caught in the gap as well. Very strong rider, formerly of Evo. Might currently be of Evo as well, riding for the Goosters. But again, it's just probably a bit too big an ask to get onto this group and then be competitive at the finish. So we're down to about 15 riders in the front group. And again, Watt Fabric really packing it out. 4 riders there. DZR doing very well with 3 riders up there. Valhalla have a handful of... Oh, Valhalla have 4 riders there. So again, very tight between Valhalla and Watt Fabric. Expect it slightly in Valhalla's favour after picking up a few more points on the sprint segment. It's going to very much come down to this finish here for them. So if I was a betting man, I'd put money on the other teams mixing up. See Bang Madsen attacking here. So you want to... I suspect the winning people here will be taking about a minute, 30-second attack just before the top of this climb. See Bang Madsen going for it here. Generally, people are absolutely knackered at this point and can't follow, and there isn't much draft to follow. You really want to do the work early here on this climb. I know that gap's only 3 seconds, but if Bang Madsen can hold it over the top, he's going to take a deserved victory, especially after some of his fantastic performances that haven't quite paid off so far this series. See, no one's really wanting to chase. It's a lot of cat and mouse between Watt Fabric and Valhalla, and that's why I say I suspect one of the other teams will take it, because all those riders are going to be watching each other. They're not going to have an eye to the likes of Teresa and Paul from the Goosters, Teresa from Rhino. They're going to just be watching, looking over their shoulder at each other, and Bang Madsen's going to comfortably take this now. It is a very long drag to the finish, and for this main group it's just going to be a sprint effort. They're going to have to be working hard all the way, but it will just be a final sprint. I don't see many other gaps opening up unless Teresa can get away here. If she kicks now, she might be able to get comfortably away. Be a very strong effort from her if she can, but she needs to kick now because there are going to be riders sprinting through very hot from this group behind. So Schultz starting to just close that gap down. I see it's going to be closed very quickly. But there are riders in this group who are going to have a sprint left. Sielski starting to ramp it up. See Mattress from Watt Fabric from the back coming through deep, and there we go. Here it goes. Watt Fabric pushing hard, but Paul's coming through from the Goosters. Mattress going to be with him. Mattress has got all the draft all the way to the line. But there's Vegard on his wheel. Vegard Huygen on his wheel. Will he pip Simon Mattress? Nope. Looks Mattress going to take second. Vegard in third. Paul for the Goosters in third. Just try and get a bit further back, see what's going on. It looks like Watt Fabric packed out that finish there. Just pipping Vikings over the line. See Raina Becker's coming through there. Really big effort. People are going to be fighting all the way. Arnie Danielson, one of the favourites in the individual point standings, going to not be in his favour today on that stage. See a couple more of the BZR rides pushing through hard. Again, it's about doing it early. See lots of the people taking the points here have pushed 6-7 watts per kilo very early on. See Sean Phillips Cobra Kai doing well as well. It's all about going early on this climb, and even more so if you can go before that left-hand turn. So look back for a couple of the box riders here. And these gaps, 2-3 seconds, they don't mean anything at this point. If anyone has the energy to push through, they'll do well. But so many riders don't. And so many are going to be thinking about the stage 5 coming up soon with the ITT. It's going to be following on for those who watch straight after. See a couple of the Rhino riders coming through together. It's always interesting to see how many of the riders end up in little bunches of their own team. See Jarlsig from the SRT trying to take a couple of places here. And it's really important, all these little places, they do add up, especially if you can get those 5th places. And for Jarlsig, we can get over into 50th, 49th, he's going to get some extra points, but he just couldn't quite make it up there. Just so you can see, every 10th place, you have a drop-off of 5 points most of the way down. And so it really matters about fighting for those. See Carlson TL putting out some big numbers to win that little bunch sprint there. And people want to do the work early here. While it's draftable, you've just come off the top of a long climb, so the speeds are low. You know, we're looking at 30 kilometers an hour here for some of them. And the lead group, you know, is almost up to 40. And obviously a bit higher with the numbers they're putting out. But, you know, it's not a ton of draft compared to most sprints. So going early is really in your benefit. Especially if you can get that 5 meter gap open. See Arwell doing it here. just kicking hard, and no one's going to be able to keep his wheel if he just needs to keep working towards the line. Even a sprint from behind won't take him here. Not that anyone seems to have the energy to, sadly. See one of the riders from Hiss pushing hard, but it might just be too little too late. Not quite going to make it on there. We've got a lot of riders just crawling into the finish now, possibly just saving themselves for the ITT coming up. We've got Rob, Brooke and Dave from Eagle Fang just pulling in. Another Tommy from Eagle Fang there. Just rounding it out. We'll see if we can get some results up while we have the last few riders coming over the line. We've got a bit of a wait between the two. Should have plenty of time to see how they actually have stacked up. Looks like it might just be catching up here. You've got Alto just coming through there. At this stage, you know, they are fighting for points, and you know, if you're their teammate, you'd like them to push on and try and fight harder for it. But equally, if they're absolutely knackered or, you know, not going to particularly survive the ITT, then you can totally understand it. So just going to swap to the results now. If that comes onto your screen. As you can see, Bang Madsen comfortably taking the win there. Really impressive performance on that last climb. Going early and getting the gap on the field, which is all important there. And see the numbers, some of them doing the average watts per kilo, you know, they're up at almost, you know, 3.8 for a lot of them watts per kilo, which is really going to be telling coming into that kind of ITT, especially they're doing about 25 minutes, I think, for the course, something like that. But with normalised power tells a true story, seeing lots of rides well over 350, which is big for the riders at their weight. See Paul Harris coming fourth, so what Fabric didn't quite stack out the top 10 as I thought they had there. Valhalla with Bosco Reba and Matt Parry just pipping out Greg Schultz. Schmekilski managing to come in what will be 7th. But Simon Mattress pipping Vegard, and the extra points there for the top finish will be really important for those top 3 places, and that'll probably account for the difference below. So it's going to be very, very tight between Watt Fabric and Valhalla here. See the 4th rider for each team down in about 17th, 18th place with Rainer Beckers and Benjamin Buckby. Arne Danielsson just a bit below, so if he's picked up points on the segment, he'll be pushing up through there. Very interesting to see how they've got on. Looking at other teams, saw Dirty Eagle Fang doing very well as a whole, picking up lots of points in the segment. Similar with Cobra Kai, I think Cobra Kai did a bit better on that. But a lot of them haven't quite been there towards the finish. We've got Eben from the box, Goose, who I believe is riding for Eagle Fang, Iron, who's riding for Goosters, and Paul Harris, who is Cobra... Oh no, he's Goosters. My mistake. So a lot of those Cobra Kai rides are a bit further down, likes of Marshall and Ali, Sean. You can see where Sean there, down in about 37th place, 36th place. So they're going to really miss out on those finish points, which could be telling in the actual standings. So that might not help them in their fight against the box. Although the box haven't necessarily done a ton better there either. BZR doing quite nicely. Not quite in the top, not just on the edge of the top 20. And picking up a couple of the points there. But you can see just how mixed it is if you look up this list. Got Andre there as well from the Goosters. Said has ridden for Evolution for a while. But it's just a total mix match-up, this field. Which shows the strength in this kind of competition in this series, in this category. It's absolutely bonkers. So you haven't quite got the results yet for the primes. See if we can get them up. Or preems, as our friend Simon Bradley would say. So here we go. So fastest time is going to be on the first sprint. The one where Daniel... let me just check. So it's on fastest through the segment, which is the one we'll look at now, will be Libby Hill. So we've got Killian, as we saw, Van der Biel from BZR taking a lot of points there. Bang Madsen from DZR. So Bang Madsen's had a fantastic race. Simon Matches from Watt Fabric picking up 3rd. Ali, who's riding for Cobra Kai, in 4th. Paul Harris from Goosters in 5th. Manelo from OTR 6th. Vegard Valhalla 7th. Rob Anderson, EST. You can see the rest. Watt Fabric just picking up a few extra points, 10th there. And then can ignore the UCI segment. It will be the Richmond Sprint. Well, just the Richmond Sprint segment with Manelo from OTR taking first FTS. Joey second, who's riding for Cobra Kai. Saw them absolutely smashing it. Snowy from the box picking up more points. Paul Harris and Gooses. So it's just such a varied points. We see Watford again just grabbing a few. Same with Valhalla. Then we'll go first over the line, which will be for the Richmond Sprint 2 and 23rd Street points. See if we can get it to refresh for you. It's not quite happy with me. Oh, just as it was. Okay, so the 23rd Street saw Vegard Huygen taking first. Rain back to Watford again. Bang Madsen absolutely killing it. Dizar, Valhalla, Bosco Uribe doing well. Schultz from Watt Fabric. Schmekilski from Watt Fabric. Mattress from Watt Fabric. It's a lot of points for Watt Fabric there. And the Sprint 2. ESRT doing well. Not sure who Ian's riding for the Dirt Teams. Marshall will be riding for Cobra Kai. I think Ian's riding Cobra Kai as well. Joey M's Cobra Kai. A lot of points as we saw from Cobra Kai. Valhalla getting a couple. But I think Watt Fabric, having taken a few more points on these segments, will probably be taking first place again on this stage, narrowly followed by Valhalla. DZR will definitely be moving up. Well done to all those teams. So we've got about 10 minutes to go before the next stage. Just do a little run through of the course. For those of you who aren't aware, so it's the Harrogate course. It's going to be an ITT, it's going to be a mass start ITT. So everyone sets off together, they can see where everyone is, but there's no draft available. Suspect most riders will probably go on the TT bike. It's going to have a significant advantage on the flats, the small inclines and on the downhills. Obviously with a non-TT bike you can super tuck, but in an ITT you don't really want to be super tucking, especially not with draft enabled. You know, there might be a slight benefit if you can then punch up the next climb a bit harder, but it's just a risk you don't want to take, and I don't think it's going to kind of help you too much on it. So you're going to like to see a lot of riders on their team time trial bikes, or time trial bikes. Just a reminder for anyone watching, please change if you haven't already. Lots of people are forgetting. See a couple of people changing the pen now. Don't be the person who forgets to change your bike. So yeah, looking at the course. So we start off, we're going in a clockwise direction, signed by the little red dot at the entry pen, so you can see it's a long climb out. We saw a lot of people going a bit too hard too early, and it can be one of those things when you can see all those rides around you in an ITT, you can get very competitive and want to push a bit harder than you planned. It's really important that riders stick to their plan here. A lot of people just sat in a bit more for that first section and punched up the KOM. For those who are not aware, on this ITT we do have segments available. We've got the Yorkshire KOM, just past halfway on the course, which will be FTS segment, and then we have the Yorkshire Sprint about 3/4 of the way through, which is again an FTS segment. So lots of points available. I suspect, you know, the winning individual score will probably be over 100 points. So the way we're doing it, the riders are ranked based on their total points. So it's kind of like a points race, but in an ITT segment. So it's not just the fastest time; it's the fastest time getting normal finishing points plus the fastest through segment points. So as I say, I think the top rider will probably pick up a good finishing position, potentially, you know, top 20 looking at, and then pick up plenty of points from the fastest through segments. One thing that riding teams can do, and I suspect you might see a couple of the more experienced teams doing this, is having 4 riders just solely targeting finish points, pacing it as evenly as possible, and trying to just nail those finishing positions, while they have their other 4 riders really targeting the segments. And to do that, the aim would be to block other teams picking up those segment points, so that the riders who have tried to do both are probably not necessarily going to be in the best overall position. They might drop, you know, 5-10 places by giving a huge effort on those segments, especially looking at the sprint segment, where it's not necessarily going to be in the benefit overall to really hit it hard. And so I'd love to see, and be really interested to see if some teams just not necessarily coast around, but go a lot more gently with a couple of their riders, targeting purely on those segments. So one thing to note, this course doesn't really have any flat sections. So you'd like to see with the riders, they're either going to be, well, not significantly, but quite a bit above threshold. You know, but I'm talking about their 20-minute, I mean, definitely above their FTP, but above their 20-minute pace. So looking about 4.5 to 5 on the climbs, and then, you know, down to 1.5, 2 watts per kilo on the downhill, really recovering. The first drag, as you can see on the map, isn't very steep. It gets a bit steeper later on, but, you know, it's 3-4% most of the way. But some of the later climbs really get punchy, especially the KOM. In this direction, most of the course isn't quite as steep, hence why the TT bike, while not as good on climbs in general as normal bikes, is definitely the favoured one. But you don't want to see riders going too much above their 20 minutes to begin with, and especially not too much above 5 watts per kilo. I expect you'll see some riders really flying out, especially some of the lightweight riders, as the course goes on. So one important thing is, if you see a lot of these climbs, just before the top of the climb there's a little lip and it really steepens up. It's so important that riders push over the top and build their speed up early. Not necessarily saying go for a full out sprint, but I'd like to see riders pushing almost their 1 minute power for about 5 seconds just over the lip to carry as much speed as possible into the downhill and build it early. It's much better to build your speed early in the downhill than truly rest on the rest of it, than to kind of just slowly and consistently build it all the way through the segment. Similarly, when they hit the bottom, especially at the bottom of Pot Bank where there's a little bump, you want to see riders again pushing close to 1 minute power, maybe just a bit less, 5 minute, I mean on that one definitely 1 minute power, but on others maybe about 5 minute power, and then just holding on to the speed they've built on the downhill. Saw it a bit too much early on in the little B division, where riders would hit the bottom and then just settle straight onto pace. You've got free speed, and the longer you can carry that, the bigger the benefit it is. Saw a lot of riders flying through, and we saw a lot of change up around the bottom of Pot Bank. It's the really steep downhill section. Because of that bump, some riders pushed and they just flew through others, whereas others just kind of settled into pace and they just lost all that speed, didn't quite get over the lip of it, and just dropped 2 or 3 places instantly. Might see if we can have a quick look at the sign-ups. Might not work perfectly, so apologies for that. We're just going to have a look at the sign-ups and see if we've got any kind of favourites going into it. See how this goes on the screen. That's not too bad. Okay, so first having a look at the kind of the team signed up so far. Because this is a very hilly course, it should favour riders, some of the lighter riders who can push significantly above normal cap boundaries. So again, there's a big performance from Kilian van den Abeel from BZR after he did really well in the last series on similar courses. And it might, same with trees, it might be in their favour on this course. One thing you have to watch out for though is there are so many long kind of drag sections that the heavier riders might have an advantage over them, but it'll be very tight between the real lightweights who can attack the climbs and the kind of heavier, stronger riders who might be able to just drag it all the way along, maintain their speed a bit longer, especially on those downhills, building speed and at the base of the climbs, and do some damage. Because these are a bit longer than, say, if we'd done an ITT on Richmond, it might not have quite an impact, but it'll be very interesting to see how the kind of comparison is between the real heavy riders and some of the extreme lighter riders. Just sort by 20 minutes. So I mentioned earlier Marshall for the Dirt Cobra Kai team, definitely one of the favourites, an incredibly strong rider, very adept at kind of holding those numbers for long periods and pushing up hard. He's got a little bit of a kick, not as much as some of the others, like you see with Arwell Owen from Rhino. Might have a little bit more kick, which might help him on some of these, but because these kind of climbs aren't necessarily as punchy, you can get away without being quite as short-term punch, like, you know, 15-second power, and as long as you have an okay 1 to 5 minute range, you should be okay as a heavier rider on these. See Rhino with a lot of the kind of heaviest riders. It might do some real damage in the Kiva and Carson TL. And we've got Niels from Watt Fabric, a couple more of the Watt Fabric riders. And Schmachilski and Greg Schultz a bit further down. And a new Watt Fabric rider, Rolf Travato. I've never seen him before. 50-year-old doing 350 watts, really impressive. Some with Arne Danielson, one of the Valhalla riders. Very impressive to see. We've got Arne and Vegard, very experienced team time trialists. And, you know, this course should very much suit them, especially if they can pace it right. I think a lot of this will come down to pacing. A lot of these riders around the 4, you know, some up to 4.4 watts per kilo, which we won't be seeing today. It'll be a one-off kind of effort. You know, a lot of these riders are around the 4 to 4.2 watts per kilo mark, and we probably won't necessarily see them hitting that today average because of the downhills, but there'll definitely be some getting close, and some might be doing PBs on this course. And one of the issues with Zwift at the moment, especially with not so many riders, is a lot of the races it's very hard to kind of do a good 20-minute effort. And so some of these riders might be able to go above those numbers, but just haven't been tested yet. But as we go down, it looks like, again, Valhalla, Rhino, Watt Fabric are going to be very competitive. There's a bit of a mixture of the dirt teams around. In general, I think it was going to this course is going to favour the heavier riders over the rest. You know, I'd say, you know, those extra 50 watts versus, you know, 0.2 watts per kilo. The 50 watts is going to make the bigger difference. And so if we're going to pick individuals here, I think, I'm not sure if I'm going to back these ladder riders. Saw Killian doing a lot of work earlier. I'm not sure about Therese. She didn't maybe push as hard as she has done at the front, but that's simply the strength of field, and she isn't quite as punchy as what you might need on that course. But I think if it's going to come down to it, we'll see the likes of Arlo and Marshall towards the front, Niels from Watt Fabric, and Vegard and Arne Danielsen, I think, all will be towards the front today on this. See the pre-race chatter starting to go. Probably won't hear too much. Occasionally in points races you get a little bit of chatter, a bit of people trying to psych each other out or just distract them. But in ITT everyone's going to be pushing hard on the limit. Can't imagine there's going to be too much going on. And just take a look at how the field's looking. I think generally most teams have got as many riders as they can here. See lots of the Valhalla tops there. Goosters with 6 riders, plenty of box. Watt Fabric riders, quite a few towards the front, jumping straight in. And you see a lot of the Valhalla riders towards the back. They've joined a little bit later, going for a bit of a warm down. And it's a bit of a debate. The one thing you can just do a bit of a warm down in the pen, which I'd strongly recommend jumping in as much as you can, because on an ITT there is going to be a significant benefit to starting towards the front of the pack. Like, you know, I say significant, it's 2-3 seconds. But, you know, that adds up. And if you get that kind of advantage, you know, you might as well take it. You know, people are going to check between different bikes. People are going to be looking at whether to go for the Speed Max Canyon bike or the Felt IA, the new Felt IA 2.0. Not sure what the other bike is. There's another one that's similar to the Felt IA. But, you know, everyone's going to be looking for those little kind of advantages. And so it's managing to start towards the front of the pen is really important on that. One thing was, I did say about not going too hard out the start, but one thing I would expect and would hope to see is a lot of the riders punch out very hard from this line. You know, if I was doing it myself, I'd be looking at getting to about 8 watts per kilo off the line and holding it until I'm up to like 35, 40 kilometers an hour. How quickly you can get away is so important. You know, it's another 2-3 seconds instantly, so if, you know, start at the front and punch away quickly versus someone at the back punching away at 4 watts per kilo. You can guarantee, you know, there's going to be a 5 or 6 second gap straight away between them. And over this course, it might not be decisive, but that's going to cost you 5-10 places in this field quite easily. Especially if you have the motivation of having to chase back on all the way up that climb, seeing everyone ahead of you, versus being towards the front and being confident. There's an important factor in this, is how the confidence plays into it. So it's very easy to get carried away, trying to get to the front, but equally you don't want to be falling back. And while there isn't any kind of draft for gaps, it's a very psychological thing. If you see a gap open up in front of you, you're not going to want to let it go, or you're going to feel like, you know, you're tired. Can you close it? Oh my god, how are these people doing that? So it is important to try and stick in the middle of the group, especially on these earlier sections, and not get too far back. I suspect there is a little bit of play in going a bit above what you'd expect for a segment to do it, for a section of the course. Lots of these riders will have it planned out per section what they're going to do on each climb and each downhill in terms of watts per kilo. Others might just say, you know, any percentage between 0 to 4, well 0 to 2 I'll do this, 2 to 4 I'll do this, 4 to 8 I'll do this, etc. And just break it down like that. It's going to be very interesting looking into this. Very tight at the top still between Valhalla and Watt Fabric. And it's going to be very close between all the teams behind. Box, Cobra Kai, Belgian Zwift Riders, ESRT, Goosters, etc. So very interesting final stage to this series. Start out. You see a couple of riders pushing 5 or so. They're just not quite getting out as quickly as I'd like to see. Though I am a bit further back, which again we'll see with the riders getting out slowly. Looks like one of the Valhalla riders has gone out very quick. Greg Pierce, well done to him. That's exactly what I'd expect to see, but then, we're 0%. We want to be settling down to about 4 watts per kilo, maybe just below. See Manelo from OTR really flying out. But, they're now up to speed. They might be looking at maybe 44, 45 on the flats tops. But, as soon as they're up to the speed that they're expecting to hold on the flats, then they can just settle down. See a lot of the ASRT riders up there early. Very experienced team, as you'd expect, getting out quickly. A couple of BZR riders are up there. See Teresa and Killian starting to move their way through the pack now. On the flatter sections, it's just about holding on for them. But because of their massive watts per kilo advantage, they're really going to have some help as they move up here. See, Manelo's taken a huge lead out here already. I'm not sure this is sustainable at all. Not really sure what his tactic is. So he's on a non-TT bike, which is very interesting to see. Not sure if that's purposeful. It could just be a glitch. But really big performance. Had some incredible improvements over the past few months, which is great to see, especially on the sprint. Absolutely outstanding. And so maybe you're seeing a really big improvement here as well in his fitness, because 5 watts per kilo out the gate is going to be well above what he's capable of if he's still staying Cat B. You see Crawford from the box and Schultz trying to close this gap. They just need to relax a bit here. 4.5, I probably wouldn't want to see riders going too much above 4.5 on these 3% sections. But again, the competitive side gets into, you see Manelo starting to slow down. Just getting a bit more into the range they'd expect to see. We have a nice little bunch of riders doing about 4.5 here. And you can spot out the lighter riders, Killian doing just above 5. And Teresa was about, not quite sure where she's gone. Again, you can spot them instantly, but they haven't taken much time out at all. And with downhills to come, that's where the group's going to come back on them. Now we're just starting the climb. See, this gap's instantly closing to Manelo now, as he's settled to a much more sustainable pace. Problem is, after he got up to speed, the standard speed you'd expect to see in this, doing that little kick hasn't really benefited much. You'd better saving the effort to do a bit more when it hits 6-7% later on. So you see Schultz just closing that gap for Watt Fabric. Again, they're just pushing a bit higher than I'd expect. This might come on to hurt them later. This front group, maybe back here in 15th to, 10th to 15th or 20th. It's kind of where I'd expect riders to be. So Rainer Becker's really kicking there, trying to move through. But a lot of this game is about consistency, as we find Teresa back here. So the Valhalla riders here, right, exactly where I'd expect them to be with the rest of the Watt Fabric guys. You just have to be careful on this section that you're not going too hard. And I expect this group that we're just looking at now is just going a bit above and might start to bring it back. Maybe not the likes of Killian, who is capable of doing 4.8 for 20. But those ahead really strong. To see Van Wyn from BZR really kicking over the top. And good to see. Maybe a little bit early to kick, but if he settles down here, as he's pushing up to try and get his speed up on the flats. Very good tactic. Might have just gone a little bit early there, though. See, Manelo's being brought back in now. So you're about to go into the downhill, and this way, one rider's just be pushing a little bit. Just a little bit of a kick here. Doesn't need to be crazy. See Van Wyn doing exactly that. Maybe needs to go a little bit higher. Just build that speed up early and then just settle in. See, Bang Madsen, really experienced, absolutely perfect. Bit of a kick and then straight down. Absolutely textbook riding for him. Really good to see. So go back and obviously a couple of the other riders doing it, but not too many. A lot of just letting the speed build up to come into it. So Jarlsig from ESRT, Anderson from EST, again, both very experienced riders doing exactly that. Just a little kick over the lip and then chilling out really early. We see a lot of the box a bit further back, like Snowy, Carson Teal, some of the heavy riders, McKeever as well, another heavy rider from Rhino who we expected might be a bit higher up, same with Arwell Owen. Again, they're all putting decent performances on Richmond, and so they could just be absolutely knackered. Again, it's very much a case of pacing this one. And at the front, I think some riders are going a bit too hard. See a lot of them kicking quite a lot again, up that 4%. It's important because it does start off at a steeper gradient, then settle down, that you do kick the first bit, try and carry that speed. See Human Bike from Hisp. Great to see Hisp between, getting a couple of riders up there again. Saw Suarez from them doing very well in the sprints earlier. See Watt Fabric again, just packing out the front. Just in classic fashion. So many riders just at that level. Very strong. Just able to maintain that. And always be there. And that's so important, especially in a big team series. Just having riders who are consistently there, consistently scoring. So, so important. So we look at this front group, they're starting to really open up the gap over those 10th kind of and onwards places. We've got about 5-10 seconds over them. See Killian just pacing it very sensibly. He knows he's capable of more, but he's saving it. I know 4.7 might be a little bit quick for the flats. Expect him just to chill out a little bit more, especially knowing he's got such an advantage on the climb. If you have that, you really want to take advantage of it. I'd like to see him doing 6 most of the way up that KOM, potentially targeting the segment as well. So it'll definitely be in his favour. Again, so coming to 2%, just pushing back up. Consistency is really important. You see a lot of riders just consistently spiking their power up and down. Not in necessarily a bad way, in terms of not correct, but it just costs you. See Travata, from what I'm seeing, to have a little drop out there. That you want to try and avoid this fluctuation. It wants to be as smooth as possible when you're on consistent gradients, because these punches really do tire you out. And for some of this course, you will need to punch up, you will need to change. The more consistent you keep it. See Manelo and Bang Madsen again pushing hard into the downhill, just as we like to see. It's a bit of difficult. They should be chilling out now. They're above 60 kilometers now. They really need to be relaxing a bit more. I think they left it a bit of a late as Bang Madsen tries to super tuck here. And Manelo, who actually can super tuck, isn't doing, which is strange to see. But it is what it is. See here, this is the important section. Bang Madsen needs to get up and punch. Needs to be going hard. There we go. That's exactly what we're expecting. 6 and a bit. Absolutely perfect. Get over this. He's holding, 64 as he comes over the top. As if you look at some of the other riders. Crawford here. Putting Paul 59 over the top, 59 over the top. They're coming down the exact same downhill at 59 from Greg Pierce. They should be able to go quicker, but it's all about punching over that top section. And it makes a huge difference. Those who see Graham Miller punching aggressively there, but 59 didn't quite go early enough. You see Matros holding a little bit more there, 54 I think I saw. And Cuesta Suarez, fantastic there again. And very aggressively, had a huge performance. Really impressive numbers from him. Haven't seen them much before in this series, but it looks like they're on for strong performance. See, this long trail up this 6% section. It does flatten out towards the top. So they won't want to do necessarily too much work here. So Bang Madsen saying bit of a lead. It's not what I'd say commanding yet. 2-3 seconds is going to be nothing when we come over the KOM. As talked about earlier on the earlier streams, that the KOM's important, but it's going to be that last 5-6 kilometers, a little loop around the Dukey estate that's going to decide the race. Lots of rides will start to blow up there. Most riders are going to be able to hold above their kind of normal 20-minute numbers here. And they probably can do it up the KOM. We'll get a little bit of rest on the downhill of the KOM. But after that, once they've finished that downhill and have to punch up again, that's where it's going to really start to hurt. And that's where you're going to start to see riders who haven't quite been able to do it, have gone a bit too hard, they'll start to fall off. And people close in, but that gap can't be too big for it to close in. You see, it's big bunches all the way back to about 24th. See Mike Palance from Valhalla just ahead of 2 of the Watt Fabric riders. They're going to definitely know this. And if you're on the Watt Fabric riders or Valhalla riders, you're going to be constantly looking around for that other team, trying to beat them, trying to stay ahead of them. And it's going to be interesting to see what Watt Fabric do. I wonder if some of them will purposefully just be sitting back and targeting. See some of the box possibly doing similar. Well, then Snowy's now moved through the field nowhere near as far back as it was earlier. Same with Graham, about 50th earlier on. See Sean Phillips a bit further back than you expect for Cobra Kai. See Witzel from Watt Fabric for back. It's going to be very interesting to see. I just wonder if any teams have thought enough ahead to think about doing that, just putting blockers in on the segments. Now, it's a big ask given the speed some of these riders will be going up them, but on an individual time trial it's far more likely, especially when you can get a lot more rest beforehand. See Bang Madsen just getting some rest here on the downhill. You've got to make sure you get out early here and start paddling, holding that speed. He's leaving it a bit late, but he's punching up a bit more aggressively here, especially if he's going for the segment. There we go. Now we see 9% there. People get caught out by this, so if you just take a quick look on the screen, it should be, as we come into this bridge here, see it peaks up to about 9%. And it's really important that riders really kick through the start of this segment. It drops down to 6 for pretty much the rest of the way. See Clinton, really good there from Clinton. Exactly what you want to see. You really want to kick across that 9%. So they're coming in at 62. They hit the 9% and they just lose so much speed in a few seconds there. You know, obviously you're going to lose some speed. You're coming into a climb, but you can avoid losing quite so much by just punching the start of this climb and then settling onto pace. Especially for the heavier riders, it's so important to do so. See Greg Pierce going very aggressively through here. Same with Killian, though not as much as you'd possibly expect to see. Lots of the Valhalla riders really pushing, but especially Greg. 6.4. We expect that's probably 6.4 is probably the limit. 6.5 of what you'd expect anyone to be able to hold the entire way up, especially at this stage of an ITT. So a couple of rides from Watt Fabric. Neil's there, pushing very hard. 6 as well. Be an interesting fight between Greg and Niels. Wonder if anyone a bit further back's going all in on this segment, though. Jarlsig from the SRT looks like he's going quite hard. Maybe not the numbers that we were seeing earlier, though. Bosco Uribe from Valhalla. And Robin Anderson again. Going very aggressively up. So we won't necessarily know how the segments have gone further back. I'll try and keep an eye on it. But we'll see at least the first few people. But then we'll get quite quickly into the sprint segment, so we don't want to go away from the front for too long. See Bang Madsen still just holding out this little lead, but Niels from Watt Fabric starting to close it down. And then we've got this Travato from Watt Fabric doing very well. Same with Schultz. See Vegard coming through for Valhalla. Greg Pierce seems, I'm not sure whether he's blown up a little bit or just resting on the flatter section. But he needs to do a bit more work here, as he exactly does. It does flatten out towards the top of the KOM, which lots of people don't quite appreciate. Really good from Greg Pierce there. Keep pushing, Con. He can do it. Just got to keep pushing this section, and then settle on the flat. But we're seeing not too many Valhalla riders towards the front, and they'll be quite disappointed. And see Arne Danielson, whether he did a bit too much work on this last stage. But Watt Fabric do look in a very commanding position towards the front. And that's another team going to pick up a lot of segment points. See Niels has now come through Bang Madsen. As I said, he's one of the favourites for today. See Marshall as well, definitely one of the favourites, really pushing towards the top of this segment here. Just coming through Rob Book from Dirty Eagle Fang, another very strong rider. So I expect 2:31 will probably see some of those times taken. It's a good effort from Niels and Marshall. They might stay in the top 10, but I expect we'll have a couple of people coming through. See Paul from the Gooses jumping in there. They are quick times, though. They might just hold on. Start to see it starting to populate out. Greg Pierce taking 5th, so maybe those times will stay. Niels possibly is going to take a lot of points here for Watt Fabric. Not sure who that was in second from Watt Fabric. But again, Watt Fabric are looking in a very commanding position now. Niels up in first, lots of riders. 3 riders in the top 10. Herzl not too far back. I think it's Herzl there taking second. Great performance from him. Just what you want to see. You know, he might be their 4th rider on the road, so he's going to get good finish points as well. But even if he doesn't, you know, he's got Rainer Beckers not too far behind him, just taking those segment points, primarily stopping other riders taking them. But also, you know, getting good points for his team is important. See, hope that was, I'm not sure who that was, from Rhino. One of the rider and riders coming through, taking first place there on the FTS. So as we get to the bottom of the climb, as you see the front riders trying to do here, we've got a bit of a kick here. It's very aggressive to begin with and really settles down to about 2%. It's important riders to see Vegard doing really well here. It's only 5 seconds back for Vegard to Niels, and he's going to know this. His team aren't in the greatest position, so it's really important he gets a very strong result here. If I was him, I'd be thinking a little bit more about the sprint here. He's not necessarily going to catch up Niels, having Niels taken second, I believe, maybe third. FTS on the last segment. But if he can, and you know, if Niels wins overall, but Vegard can take 20 points on this sprint, 15, 10 points on the sprint, you know, well, it's 11. It's definitely not 15 either. 17. Might be 17, 15, 13, 11. But, you know, if he can get plenty of points from the FTS on this sprint, it'll be really beneficial for his team. And, you know, make up if he drops a place or 2 back. Now, if you are one of these leading riders, I know there's a lot of glory in coming first and an advantage for coming in the top 2, 3 riders. But, you know, you might want to sacrifice if you have enough energy for a top sprint here. See, there is quite a bit of a gap now outside of this top 6. Got about a 10-second jump after them. And again, another bit of a bunch within 10 seconds, but starting to get a bit more spread out. So we'll zoom out on the map so you can really start to see. So as you enter the sprint, Marshall's kicking hard. 8 watts per kilo. I'm not sure that's going to be enough. It'll take some FTS points, definitely. But I'm not sure it's going to trouble the top of the table. Rob Brooks also going quite well. But again, I don't think Rob's going to be taking much. Marshall probably will take a top 10 there. It's important for riders going for this. See the likes of Greg there doing very well. They attack the top of the climb. So Rainer Becker's doing it expertly. You attack the top of the climb. You don't start when you see the segment. You go early. There's a bit of a downhill in the middle. You can chill out a little bit through and then punch again at the end. So Greg's going to turn a good time here, but I think Rainer Becker's is going to do very well. See, him and Chris Herzl have been focusing on the segments, it seems, taking some good points there. See, Greg Pierce not quite able to pick Marshall. How's Rainer Becker's? And only third. So good for Greg there from Valhalla. You know, he's some points there. What Valhalla really needs some of their rides a bit further back to start to get some more points in that sprint. So you see Snowy absolutely flying through that segment. Haven't quite seen it, but really good. 16 seconds. This is one of the kind of, see Cobra Kai riders coming in as well, pushing the others down. This is one of the real dilemmas when you have a sprint segment in the middle of an ITT. You know, it's a tough ask to know how hard you need to go because the field's so spread out you can't see what's around you. And you see with Snowy there, 16 seconds. You know, he's well ahead of the rest of the field. 1.5 seconds clear. He probably could have saved himself a little bit more. He's in a good position though, 21st. Really impressive. But, you know, if he saves himself a bit of more, maybe picks up 2-3 extra places and still wins on that segment. So you see Marshall's got a little bit of a lead over Rob Book. And then Vegard just behind them. So Martin Vegard is exactly how I expect to see that. And Niels as well coming through. They seem to have dropped Travato behind. There's a couple of people closing in. Great performance from Teresa there. Moving her way through now. There's not far to go. You need to, if she wants to kind of get to that top group, I think it's going to be far too big an ask, but she needs to do the work now. 5 watts a kilo sadly isn't quite going to do it. See Marshall just chilling out a little bit. He's got over the top. Vegard just pushing again. It's very interesting to see the back and forth between these riders, see the different pacing. See Rob Book there got a little bit further back and he's pushed a bit long on this downhill. And you know, while it's going to help what he looks like in position, it's going to tire him more than was necessary. See Greg Pierce pushing again over that climb, very aggressively, which is good to see. It's what you want at this stage of the race. So coming into the finish, you have a sharp climb, and then a long drag into the line. A bit similar to how we had in the last race in Richmond. See Vegard taking the front. Again, at this point, you want to be recovering a bit more. No, it's like 0%, 1%, -4% for a section, but you want to recover here. Marshall just needs to chill out. Vegard's doing very well, but you've got a bit of a climb up ahead, and you want to sprint through it if you can. And so it's important to save and then sprint here. You know, I want to see people up to 8 watts per kilo for this section, if they can. See Marshall pushing up, but not quite enough to catch on to Vegard yet. It's going to be a big old drag between them. See Niels doing exactly that, just below 8, but, you know, enough that he's come straight through Rob Book, who's also doing well, and 2 of them are catching up Vegard and Marshall up the road. See a couple of the riders further back, pushing about 7 up there. Looks like Vegard's got about a 10-metre gap on Marshall. I think that it's going to be between the 2 of them for the line. Then Niels probably just picked out Rob Book there. So Niels will come back in 3rd. See Rob Book just slowing down there now. I think he knows he's not going to take... Oh, he's come back up though. See how it goes. See Vegard just comfortably pushing away now. Really strong performance from him. That's going to really help Valhalla. I think Watt Fabric probably, and that's going to take the overall stage victory and therefore the series victory. See Marshall there. He knows he's in 2nd there. Comfortably enough with Niels behind. See Rob Book trying to catch Niels before the line. If he keeps going, he's going to come through him. I think he's going to catch him just on the line. Not quite in time, but really good push there. And see Travato from Watt Fabric coming through in 5th. Tree's doing well. Danielson, really good. So this is where it's very good. And this is where it's important to punch. And he's just going to carry a little bit more speed than Bang Madsen. Bang Madsen reacted in time, but because Danielson had already built that speed, he's coming flying through. Then Bang Madsen's just kind of accepted that there. See Pierce moving. Herzl really fighting for places there. It's great to see people all the way back attacking Rain and Beck's as well. The Watt Fabric guys know they're in a competition and really pushing all the way to the line. We see 5 of them inside the top 20 and lots of them picking up points. See Manelo again, really good result, pushing hard through Wim van Kutsum. Even Matros, who I think is the 6th Watt Fabric rider, trying to beat out Carson TL. So again, Snowy, Carson TL, who thought would do well earlier, slowly coming through. You know, 20th position, 22nd position, really good considering how far back they were early, but it shows how important the pacing is. Lots of the riders who were to their forwards front, like Vanden and Beal, just dropped their way back, not being able to hold that. So he comes to lots of riders coming through now, just drop a little bit back. So going, it's really important riders if they can kick here. See a couple of riders from other stages jumping on. And Witzel fighting his way there. Beesdar, Brockhart's going to take it from him. It's really important you try and give a bit of a kick here, CR alone. Because it's an IT, there's no draft. That advantage you have from kicking can be huge. And, you know, if you can kick then settle on for the pace you're going to hold, it'll make a big difference. Saw earlier when Bang Madsen, I think it was, got overtaken. The earlier kick was more than enough to build up speed. And a sustained one was what mattered. See Chris de Grom trying to come through Rob Nansen, but he's not quite going to make it. See Suarez put a big effort earlier. I think that's taken its toll. He did well coming through the field. I think it was about 30th when we last saw him on this ITT. But just fallen back slowly. It's so hard to kind of do these double efforts. Doing a stage immediately following. I think Vecna from Dizar's just going to pip in there. It's very, very hard saying doing these double efforts, especially on 2 very punchy courses, really takes its toll. You know, if you're doing a flat 20-minute effort, have a 5 minutes rest, you can probably get not the same, but within about 0.2, 0.3 watts per kilo of it when you repeat it. But when you're doing these punchy courses, it just fatigues the leg, and it's so important on this course to be able to go over and under threshold consistently. And if you've got tired legs from the sprints earlier, see likes of Goose, who's got very tired legs, having doubled up and raced both this morning as well. Like, you just aren't able to put those numbers out, and it really drops you back on a course like this. I have very bad memories of doing this, even in the points race, doing 2 laps of it and just falling back tens of places every single climb, just because my legs weren't there. I'd done it already in the morning, and if you just can't kick up, you're just sacrificing places on the climbs. See Goose giving me a little bit of a show towards the finish. Might be able to take Klingvold from the SLT, but it's unlikely. Take a monster effort to close that gap down now. But we'll try and get some results up for you soon. Thank you very much for joining. It's been an absolutely fantastic series. Just watch a couple more riders coming through the line. It's very nice to see such competitiveness. Don't think, as I said a few times, never seen a B field quite so strong, especially in the depth of it. Seeing riders, coming in 70th place in some races with, rankings of below 100. It's absolutely crazy to see. And just so much experience, so much power, all in one place. That's what you get with the Dirt Racing Series. Importantly, it's the team aspect as well. While we have these really strong individuals, the team that's come top, which I suspect, before we take a look at the results, but from what I've seen so far, will be What Fabric. And last season they did have a bit of an individual problem, with Chris Hertzl taking the vast majority of their points. Whereas this season they've got so many strong riders and they've consistently packed out that top 20. Other riders and other teams have got riders in there and been competitive, but no team has really managed to put in as many people at the front as they have every race, and that's what's counted. Especially packing out those segments and packing out that finish. So I'll just take you to the results. Or we should be taking you to the results on the screen now. And so I'll get the unfiltered results because I suspect there's going to have been some filtering. So it looks like Vagard took the win, although I might be above category limits, but again, we'll see what the final results will be after that. That'll be very disappointing for Valhalla if it is. I've got Marshall from Cobra Kai in second place, Niels H, really strong showing from What Fabric in third, Rob Brook from Dirty Eagle Fang, just not quite being able to pip him on the line, but really good to kind of bounce back and push again after he just seemed to drop a little bit on the top of the finish. Rolf Travato from What Fabric, I think a new rider for them, I haven't seen him before, really strong performance coming through and instantly putting in numbers like that. We've got Teresa from Rhino, great to see, and especially great to see a lighter rider. She must have paced it almost perfectly, doing, almost dead on a 20-minute PB for 21 minutes. Just fantastic to see. Arnie Danielson, as you expected, from Valhalla up there, Greg Pierce up there. So, Valhalla have got riders up there, maybe a few more than I gave them credit for. But, they've got three in the top 10, but What Fabric have also got 3 in the top 10. Rain Becker's then in 13th, Schultz in 16th, Ilski in 18th, Matros in 22nd, and they picked up a lot of segment points, and that's going to be the difference, I think, between the two teams on this course and in this stage. Matt Parry again, a great result in 15th. See Clinton, really good result from the box there, especially with James Crawford there in 17th. Snowy moving through the field quickly to take 21st. Just take a bit of a look down and then see if we can kind of pick out some of the primes for you. We'll see if the primes have come up yet. Okay, so we've got fastest time, we can ignore the UCI lap forwards. But it goes to kind of show how that first section went and how riders who didn't quite get out of the blocks that quickly end up bringing it back. Anyhow, looking at the actual sprint segment, so Snowy, as we saw, taking it to Goose absolutely bonkers there, coming in second after dominating the segments earlier in the day and getting a good score as well. I think it was, I'm not sure if it was on Libby Hill on one of the segments today, this evening even. We've got ESRT Alto, and then Ali in 4th, riding for Cobra Kai. I think Goose is Eagle Fang, as reference. And again, so it looks like we've knocked all the main competitors out of that Yorkshire sprint forward, so no What Fabric riders and no Valhalla. But then when we look at the Yorkshire KOM forward, Jason Cope, really strong performance. I expect some riders sitting towards the back doing well there, but Niels H, incredible, especially given his finish position. Then Chris Hertzl taking some more points. Bryce Robertson, I expect from the box, doing really well there. Marshall, as we saw, punching through. Snowy, really good as well. That'll be where Snowy moved up the field for the box. It seems like the box will have a very good result today as well. Might see them. We saw Cobra Kai doing very well earlier. It'll be interesting to see how they've got on. I think it'll turn out to be that fight for third place. Will probably be between Box and Cobra Kai. BZR have had good results, but I think Box and Cobra Kai will be fighting for that third place, and how they've got overall on each stage, not versus each other, but if their team's separating them, will be the telling factor. I think both will have done well and won the stages today, but it'll be very close between the two of them. So keep coming down. See, we don't see any of Valhalla riders, sadly. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. So you don't see Greg Pierce from Valhalla on that segment for the Yorkshire KOM Ford. I think that's what's going to hurt them as well. What Fabric will be getting? What, 17 plus 15 points for the FTS on there, and added to their great finish position. That should take them the win. And this is where I think teams could have been a little bit smarter today. You know, it's very easy to say, you know, it's still a huge effort to do a 230 up that climb, no matter how fresh you are. But I think some teams could have maybe taken it a little bit easier going in, had sacrificed, you know, 3 riders, say, 2 riders, just to target the sprint and the Yorkshire KOM. Like, let them just crawl around the rest of the course. You can't go too slowly, but, you know, not fighting really hard for those finishing positions and just be used as blockers, while the other, you know, your top 4 fittest riders just go all out for those finish positions, not worrying about the KOM forward too much or the sprint forward. But, you know, it's tactics like this that make this series so interesting. We've had such a variety of courses, you know, with a very interesting TTT Thursday with 3 Villages Loop, not been done before on TTTs. The 3 Sisters, or 2 Sisters, as I like to call it, finishing at the Radio Tower, great course, and starting out with the Seaside Sprint. It's been an absolutely fantastic series. So thank you all so much for joining, and hopefully we'll see some more of you next season. I'm sure the dates will be announced soon enough, but good luck between now and then, and thanks very much for watching.